Good afternoon, class. My name is Hariman Pandey, and in this session, I will be covering the second part of JSP, Java Server Page. In the previous class, we had a discussion about JSP, where we discussed the basic definition of JSP, that is, basic introduction of JSP, architecture of JSP, and its advantage, that is why one should use JSP as a developer. The aim of this session is to make you understand the GSP processing. So it is expected that at the end of the session, you should know the GSP processing, the terminology used in GSP processing. So I have listed some of the learning outcome for this particular session. So it is written here that as a learner, you must know GSP processing. At the end of this session, you will be in a position to explain the basic processing, basic mechanism, basic techniques used for GSP processing, and the terminologies such as web server, GSP container, GSP engine, and servlet engine. So you will be in a position to explain the purpose of all these once you will complete this session. And the most important thing which are involved in GSP processing is translation phase and request processing phase. So I will be covering these two with the help of one diagram, so which will explain you the overall concept involved about translation phase and request processing phase. Because as a client, you will send a request, and you want to receive the response through the application which you are using. So here it is assumed that the application is developed in using JSP, and that is the main reason why we want to understand how a JSP will process. So here I have written the title, JSP processing why. Why we want to process a JSP. Actually, we can develop, as a developer, we can develop a web-based application using many technologies. Since JSP is listed in your syllabus, so we are talking about JSP in detail. Uh, Web-based application is increasing day by day because it makes our day-to-day life easier, simple, and we can save our time, which can be utilized for other purpose. So here you can see the last point, JSP technology is used to create web application. So JSP, as I said in the beginning, JSP is one of the technology. Apart from JSP, there are other technology also exist for web-based application development, and we can use those technologies also for developing a web-based application. Coming to the first point, here I have listed web-based application development increasing day by day. In order to justify this point, I would say I will present some example in order to justify this point. My first example is based on bank transaction. If as a client we want to do some transaction, in earlier days we have to visit the bank, that branch where we have our account, wait in a queue. If you want to draw some money, you have to stand in a queue, you have to fill a form and then give the form to the cashier. Then cashier cross checks. Cashier will verify your signature and other details, and if all the detail will get verified and correct, then cashier will give the money, appropriate money you have filled in the form. Similarly, for electricity bill or mobile bill or water supply bill, in earlier days we have to visit that branch in order to pay the bill. Nowadays, no need to visit. We can open the particular website, and we can fulfill our need. So that is the main reason why this web-based application development is increasing day by day. And by utilizing this, if you are not going to the particular branch of that bank, you are saving your time. You are at your home, you have internet connection, you can open the website, you can access the web page, you can access your account, you can fulfill all your needs. So in order to, that is the main reason why we want to understand GSP processing, because as a developer down the line, if you are developing any web-based application, so the primary requirement is one should know how a GSP will process, or how a web page will process over the internet. Then you can create you can develop a web-based application easily, effectively, and efficiently. So in order to make you understand the overall processing of GSP, I have given a diagram in the next slide. So here this diagram will give you a clear understanding about how a GSP page will process. So here there are two parties involved. One is client side, another one is server side. And you can see that client, by using the client machine, client will open the website, client will fill the form. Client will provide all the details which will be considered as a request for the client. It will reach to the web server through the internet connection. Then overall processing will be taken care by this web server. Basically contains the three most important thing. One is GSP engine, another one is servlet engine, server extension. Server extension is nothing but GSP engine and servlet engine. I said three things. The third thing is application server, which will provide a runtime environment for a GSP to execute. And then after overall processing, client will receive the response. So in order to understand the overall GSP processing, we have to understand this complete diagram. So the next diagram, the next slide explains all these things in detail. So here you can see GSP stands for Java Server Page. Why we call it Java Server Pages? Because here you can see web server. Web server keeps a container which is called as GSP container, where all the GSP pages will be kept or stored. Uh, and JSP engine. So here you can see the web server has have a JSP engine which acts as a container. Same thing I said. And if a client is sending any request from the machine, then it will first reach to the JSP engine. It will be stored in a JSP container. Then JSP engine will take that GSP page, particular GSP page for which client is sending the request, convert the GSP page in the form of servlet page. That is that page will be in the form of servlet.java file, and then servlet engine will compile that file and convert it in the form of class file, which will be sent back to the GSP engine, and then it will send back to the database, where and for the overall operation, that is the data exists in the database or data is not exist in the database. If the data present in the database, then fetch the data from specific data from the database, return the data back to the web server, and then web server is responsible for sending the data, that is the response, to the client in the appropriate form or in the appropriate format which can be viewed by the client. So same thing is explained here, and the runtime environment will be provided by the application server. There are many application server exist. Most popular application server is Tomcat Apache, which most of the web developer uses nowadays. Same thing. So request will be whatever request client is sending, it will be in the form of HTTP request. There exists a class in Java which is called as HTTP servlet request. So object of that class will be utilized by the service method of JSP in order to process. The same service method keeps another argument which is HTTP response, HTTP response, and object of that class will be utilized for sending the response to the client. And then same thing is written here. So overall responsibility is given to JSP engine. So here you can see JSP engine loads JSP pages. Same thing I explained. JSP. So whenever any request will come from the client, it will be forwarded to the web server. Then web server will forward the same request, which is in the form of JSP page, to the JSP engine, where the JSP page will be stored in the JSP container. Same thing is written here. JSP engine loads, and then in order to process that request, GSP engine is responsible to load that particular page, and the information about that particular page will be gathered or collected using index.html file, which can be used in order to render that particular application or particular GSP page which for which request is coming from the client side. Same thing is listed here from the disk. Disk means the GSP container and converts it into the servlet. So GSP engine is responsible for converting that particular GSP page in the form of GSP servlet.java file, and then servlet engine will convert that servlet.java file to servlet.class file, because in order to execute a Java file there is a need of .class file for that particular Java file, and then forward or send the .class file back to the GSP engine, and GSP engine then compiles the servlet into an executable class, same thing I said, and forward original request to servlet engine. Servlet engine loads and executes the servlet class, and servlet produces an output in HTML form which will be stored in index.html file, and index.html file will keep the information of multiple GSP pages. So for whenever any request is coming from the client side, index.html file is responsible to identify that the request which is coming from the client side, it is for ith or jth or kth specific GSP page, and accordingly render that particular GSP page to the client. The output produced by servlet engine is then passes to the response. As I said, there will be another argument in the service method, because there are three methods involved. The overall GSP processing or life cycle is divided into three categories. Three phases are there. One is initialization, service, and destroy. So initialization means loading the GSP page into the loading the GSP page with the help of GSP engine, and then forwarding or compiling the GSP page and converting it in the form of .class file. It will be sent to the servlet engine, and then servlet engine will create an HTML file. It will be stored or the code will be stored in index.html file, which is here, and then generate the response. And then response will be web server sends HTTP response to the web browser again. So web browser again means over here web browser, here web browser, which can be viewed by the client, and uh, web browser in the form of static HTML code, which will be viewed by the client. Web browser then loads the static pages into the browser. Thus, user can view the dynamically generated page. So, in order to process the GSP page, there are five main steps which one need to understand. One is client will create a request. Client will create a request using or generate a request using the GSP, which will be sent to the web server or forwarded to the web server. So this is step number one. Over the internet, this request will come to the web server. Then this request will be forwarded to the GSP engine, where the GSP page will be stored in a GSP container. In order to process the GSP page, which has come from the client, GSP engine will is responsible to load that GSP page, convert the GSP page or translate the GSP page in the form of servlet.java page, compile that Java file, convert the Java file into .class file, send that .class file to the servlet engine. Servlet engine will after accepting that class file, servlet.class file, servlet engine will prepare the response and send the response to back to the web server, where web server will utilize the web browser and produce or provide the response in the form of static HTML pages to the client, which client can view. So this is the overall GSP processing. So in order to accept the request, there will be HTTP request class can be utilized, which is already exists in Java. And in order to prepare the response, HTTP response class, object of HTTP response class can be utilized to prepare the response. And so same thing is listed in these slides, which you can refer, and generate the dynamically pages which can be viewed by the client. Now, this diagram is given in order to provide you a clear understanding or of a GSP page. So, in order to understand the processing, I have taken here hello.jsp page. So, this is the client side, and from here, this complete represents the server side. So there are, you can see there are two parties involved. So 1 2 3 4, this numbering indicates the steps used for GSP processing. So in the beginning, client will send a request using get method, and the request will be hello.jsp, which is received by the web server. Web server contains three things, as I explained in the beginning, in the earlier slide. One is GSP engine, GSP container, application server, and servlet engine. So these are the terms, or these are the things present over here, which can be utilized by the web server. So so in order to process this hello.jsp, first of all, GSP engine will load this file in the GSP container. So this is this box represents the GSP container. So it will be loaded and translated in the form of servlet .java file. So here the name of this GSP file is hello.jsp. So it is translated or generated the code for hello.jsp in the form of hello servlet.java file. So this complete thing can be called or known as translation phase. So translation phase involves three things. One is receiving the file from the GSP container, converting the GSP file in the form of servlet file, and compiling it, and converting it into the class file. So here you can see hello servlet dot class file, and then after receiving this hello servlet dot class file, this request processing phase will accept it as an executable file, prepare the response for this request and execute it, and send the response in the form of HTML static page using any browser to the client, which client can view, client can be viewed in the form of dynamically generated web page. So this is the overall processing, and here I have given some remark which you can read. So in order to refer the lecture materials and video lectures, assignments, quizzes, you can visit this website iuce.imports.com. For any queries related to lecture material, you can put your query in the discussion forum. You can even create discussion forum among your peer group, and you can share the information with your friends or with me. And for any query, or if you want to discuss anything, you can send the query to my email id hmpande@met.edu. So in this session, we discussed GSP processing, and so now the time is for verifying you have achieved the learning outcomes or not. So in this session, we discussed the GSP processing, and we discussed the purpose of web server, We discussed the purpose of JSP container. We discussed the purpose of JSP engine and servlet engine. We discussed the purpose of translation phase and request processing phase. And that's all. I hope you enjoyed this lecture. Thank you very much.